We're on season 7, episode 6 of the Voiro Podcast, and today we have Vinay Sarawagi, who's the founder of the Media GCC, a high-trust, high-performance global capability center that enables media companies to lead confidently in an AI-first, platform-fragmented world. Welcome to the Voiro Podcast, Vinay.
Thank you, Kavita. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So, when we read about your launch of Media GCC, Leena's like, oh my God, I know Vinay, right? And we're always on the hunt for something new on our sea, something new on the landscape. And there's always this excitement if somebody's doing something different from the regular. And one thing that got me kind of questioning is that, you seem to be building a horizontal GCC, right? And we've been hearing about GCCs for the last, I want to say 2 years. And from the statistics that I read, we are around 1,500 to 1,700 GCCs in India. And the only GCC that I've heard have been from brands, right? Mercedes GCC or Target and whatever else. So what's the plan with the Media GCC and who are you targeting and why should they be looking at you guys?
Absolutely. Thank you, Kavita. These are very good questions. Let me try and quickly answer first by explaining that when we talk about GCCs, even beyond media, like you said, there are roughly around 1,700 GCCs in India at the moment. Around 22 lakh people work in them. So it's a great story for India's talent, right? But as per NASSCOM's data, roughly 400 to 450 of Fortune 1000 companies are right now having active GCCs in India. So when we say that, what about the next 1,000, right? So most of these are mid-sized GCCs. And in fact, some of the latest reports would show you that right now, in terms of growth rate, we are seeing very, very interesting and nice energy in the mid-market GCC space. It's fundamentally because as far as the efficiencies of GCCs are concerned, I think mid-sized companies, erstwhile in the BPO and KPO era, they would rather say that, I will look inward and I will try and gain efficiencies and I will not have the kind of overhead that large corporations do. But GCCs are allowing them to have this very nice sweet spot between having full control over IP, over technology, workflow and talent and so on and so forth, while going for, very nice capability boosts. So the story has indeed moved from just cost efficiencies, which was the BPO, KPO story. Of course, cost efficiency is part of the story, but I think it's far more than that. And it's more about talent, technology, and of course, like we say, trust is at the, forefront of it. So GCC model has really allowed mid-sized media companies to look at capability boost in a whole new manner. Now, as far as the Media GCC is concerned, our foundation lies in this basic realization that it's not just that the GCC related efficiencies are good for any other industry. Media's case is a peculiar one, wherein for last 2 decades, we have seen the kind of growth of digital technology that, in a way makes it look like a dream run. But at the same time, for legacy media and entertainment companies across the board, whether you are on the publishing side or the advertising agency side, studio side, from movie production point of view or television network side, right? All these companies have seen that most of the gains of digital technologies boosts have gone to largely big technology corporations, of course, because they had the kind of control with technology and they have not just been able to change the audience behavior, but also the distribution methods and so on and so forth. So this industry needs the kind of efficiency that the GCC model delivers, I would say even more than many other industries. This is not to suggest that in case of other industry, GCC model is not contributing, but to realize this point from the industry that we understand the best and the industry we have always worked in and we want to cater to, that even mid-sized media companies are in dire need of a GCC enablement and a GCC related solutions.
Fair. And when you say mid-size, right, what constitutes a mid-size? Like what is their average revenue? What kind of countries are they in? And what sets us up to be able to receive this kind of, this kind of business? Because, you mentioned that, say, a large company like Warner will have their own GCC in India. Do you see a future where certain parts of Warner will work with the Media GCC as like a boot program or as a subcontracting program, as an attachment to their GCC as well? Or Are you going to just stick to a specific sector? And if so, what is that sector in terms of numbers?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. So I think it's we have done a bit of a research before, of course, starting this. So there are around 430 companies which are in this bracket of 100 to roughly 300-400 million kind of a top line, right? This is what we are defining as mid-market. Most of these companies are in US, Europe. Some of them are in markets like Australia, New Zealand, and so on and so forth. So primarily, the target zone is going to be US, Europe, and bit of, we can say, rest of the world. When we say the kind of companies, we want to cater to everyone who falls in the bracket of media and entertainment. So while we are very, very sharply focused on the sector, we want to serve across not just the kind of corporate services and so on and so forth, which is a very, very natural extension for any GCC, but also deep expertise in content. When we say content, across text, video, audio, and so on and so forth. Similarly, product and technology, where I think India has some of the world-class talent, right? And same goes with monetization. So this is also something when we look at larger GCCs in media and entertainment space, like you mentioned, Warner Brother, I think they have done a great job of it, right? Similarly, on agency side, we have the larger ones like from your WPP to IPG, Omnicom. I think agencies have been at the forefront of really making the most out of GCC model. And we would want to also work with publishers and television networks. These are companies which have traditionally not been open to offshoring and outsourcing. Of course, concerns related to understanding local cultural nuances and IP and so on and so forth. There was also a lot of a pride that one took in, doing content in a certain way. While all of that has to be respected and preserved, at the same time, I think the industry really needs to be open-minded about these kind of innovation. And I think from our early conversation in last couple of months, we are seeing very, very good traction. And I think it's GCC model is really coming as a sweet spot in many of these conversations. When I explain them how it's different from outsourcing and so on and so forth, we are getting very, very good reception. So I am really excited about what we are trying to do here.
Nice. Now I'm coming to the question that you opened up. How is this different from outsourcing, right? Because it's across the monetization workflow. We have to be sensitive to cultural context, right? So there are things that I'm sure that we will not do in Media GCC as a horizontal. And, how do you deal with these kinds of questions? And more importantly, who do you pitch to in these mid-sized companies that have the capability of making these seemingly large decisions of offshoring an entire capability into another organization as a boot program, like you mentioned? So what's the difference and who do you speak to?
Yeah. So, see, the larger corporations, I think usually go for fully captive model, right? And their journey usually is that, either someone from Big Four kind of a consulting companies and who have already established deep relationship with these companies. They engage with them. They explain them the benefits of a GCC model. Of course, they also look at the case studies of the successful ones. And now I think in that sense, the industry is really mature. So it doesn't really require the kind of selling that maybe it would have required 5 years ago. So to that extent, I think one has to really give it to the pioneers of the industry, right? Then usually what happens is even at the delivery side, the ecosystem is now fairly mature, wherein there are people who have deep expertise either in terms of physical infra, digital infra, and helping you really scale up at the right pace and the right kind of environment and so on and so forth. I think what we are trying to do, because we are working with mid-sized companies, so it's not necessary that everyone will need the same kind of solutioning. A 5,000 people GCC versus a 50% GCC require very, very different kind of modeling, right? And we are more likely to work on, anywhere between 30 to 50 seats to 200 seats and so on and so forth, right? These companies require models like either a company owned, partner operated. In that case, we become their India partner. In some cases, they are more comfortable with BOT model, wherein, we build, we will operate for next couple of years and then we will transfer, right? So even in terms of models, like I told you that in many other industries, mid-size market has already really matured in last 2 years. And the successful models are before us, and we have to really work with a partner and really create a kind of a bespoke solution. If I was to tell you that the kind of conversations and the level at which they are to be held, we try to go to either the promoters or the CEO or someone else in the C-suite, because these are the very high stake leadership level decisions. I totally understand that people who are in mid management and so on and so forth, while they can sometimes through relationships be great folks to introduce us to their leadership, but ultimately it's a very big and critical decision. But I think the ecosystem and I think the Indian talent story is something which does most of the selling. We just have to go and make the marriage happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the capabilities sector, right, I'm sure that you have forerunners, and I already know the answer that you're going to tell me. So, but I'm going to ask you to say, what is the forerunner in terms of capabilities that they want to sort of make captive globally in India for these organizations, especially in the mid-market space? What kind of capability are they looking for right now?
Yeah, I think one area where India has really earned global respect is product and technology, right? So in terms of tech ops, and now technology is something which is part of, if we were to look at media as a universe through, say, content or monetization. So tech ops, ad ops, even on content side, from your CMS to the entire, the tech enablement of the content journey, right? So there is very, very warm response to that, because I think the India story vis-a-vis, the tech capability, I think the journey is now fairly long, starting from IT to our own products and the kind of talent India has exported abroad. So I think there's a lot of confidence in that. We usually try and tell our partners that you should actually keep your core onshore, and you should reinvest and invest further into your core communities, core content, core IPs, and core brand, because beyond what has happened in last 2 decades in terms of digital disruption, next decade is going to be about AI and ML, which is even bigger, right? So these companies really need to reinvest in their core. And I think these GCC efficiencies are not only at the level of being able to save those 30-40% crucial dollars, but more about having this young and agile talent in India, which is ready to shoulder these responsibilities at a tech platform level and so on and so forth, which is helping them further, reinvest in their core capabilities.
No, absolutely. So like I was telling you, a lot of our listeners are also first jobbers, people who are kind of finding their feet in the media space. A lot of interns who kind of ping us to say, are there any jobs, and so on and so forth. Media as a space is kind of sometimes is a single brush, right? It's about just content creation or the glamorous side of it. But if you look at the credit roll at the end of a movie, it takes almost an entire country or many countries to sort of push that movie up and make it, right? So if you were to advise people who want to get into the media space more from an engineering perspective, what would you advise them to be able to sort of hone in terms of skill sets that you feel is going to be very important in the next decade? And how do they actually go about procuring it today to make themselves ready to be hireable and of value to either the GCC space or even large content companies who are in-housing this kind of tech talent?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I think at one level, it is a talent story, right? None of this would have been possible if India didn't have the kind of talent it has, and the talent which is not only... So usually what we try and tell our clients is that you will be working with India's top 3 or 4% media and entertainment talent, right? And that really does a big part of convincing. But what do we mean here by top 3 or 4% media talent of India? It's not necessarily people who have really achieved something in last many decades, right? Of course, what they have done is of immense value. But when we're talking about young people, what's really going to make them really stand out and be defined as the top 5% talent, right? It's going to be about not just be stuck up with what you want to do, but also be open to where the opportunities are, right? Sometimes see, if we were to see from content point of view, we are seeing a lot of demand, say, in content moderation and those kind of roles, right? Now, that may not be 22-year-old's dream job when they are studying in college, and when they think of media, maybe they have a very different idea, right? There was a survey some time ago which showed that every fifth kid these days want to become an influencer, right? Those who can and those who have, very well done. But is everyone going to really sail through it? The odds are lesser than you succeeding in the stock market. So while you pursue your passion and dreams, you also have to be very pragmatic about where your strengths are, what you can learn over the years, right? Sometimes it's not just about straight out of the college just doing what you feel like, right? You spend a couple of years in the industry, go through the training, and because what they teach you in colleges versus what's out there in the real job market today can sometimes be really, really different, right? So similarly, I think in jobs like there's massive demand in terms of CTV and smart TV solutions, right? There's massive demand in ad ops, tech ops, and so on and so forth. So some people these days are like, where are the jobs? Well, there are enough jobs as long as you are ready to really upskill and be globally competitive. That's going to be another aspect of it. Some people, they come and while they can do some things here and there, they are not really ready to totally commit to a particular role for next couple of years. That's, I think, another important point. And if you want to be globally competitive, then you have to show that you can do this job better than most others.
Yeah. And nothing better than experience in that particular role, right? So, back in the day when we used to we were just talking about interns and how we want interns to be versus what they are. And it's bittersweet right now because it's a different generation altogether. But ultimately, what I see in the media market is that there is an entire content chain, right? There is creation of content where you have it's glass to glass, where there's capturing of content creation, there's editing, there's distribution. Then it comes down to the monetization part, which is also very fragmented. There's a marketing side, there's a publisher side. Then there's billing, right? And actually creation of like billing and invoicing and the ERP systems, and then the entire thing starts all over again. And the other thing I realized also, in the last 10, 11 years that we've been running Voiro as well, it's that every single media organization makes it its life's mission to be different from another media organization. That's like the way they operate to what they sell, everything is different. So there is no one size fits them all. Although they're similar, it's not the same, right? And that kind of hampers this whole concept of simplify to scale, which is what, say, Google has done over several decades, saying that everything will be simple so we can scale it, right? The other one is UI interfaces, right? People become UI jockeys without really understanding the technology and the logic behind it.
Exactly.
So I think today in the world of what you are doing as well, in terms of pulling together disparate systems, pulling together disparate workflows and processes, it's not only about being a UI jockey, knowing what to click, what to do, and having a sheet in terms of a playbook, right? It's about understanding what's happening in the back end with what I'm doing right now. So I think when you're saying you got to upscale, you need to invest. I think there has never been any time before in the history of media as we are today, in which you are able to access, analyze, educate yourself in such an easily accessible as well as a cost-effective way, right? You can read research papers, AWS, and every service provider is having conferences for any engineering talent of any type to come in for free, right? You can go in and attend conferences, they were so close to us, right? We couldn't enter a conference unless we were invited or it was closed door, or, you had to fly to the US to do this. It's so accessible today. And we are one of the leading countries that are producing the most number of engineers. And so I think that is something that is a huge benefit to us. But I think where we really need to sort of invest is context, right? And competency. Just being an engineer doesn't really matter, right? And that, I think, from a media GCC perspective, what I want to understand is...
I think we suffer from the problem of plenty, this whole thing that, we create X billion of a number of engineers every year. See, I'll give you a small example that People talk about, these days IT companies having the same entry level salary that there was maybe, a decade ago and so on and so forth. While that's not how it should be, but there is another side to this problem wherein some of the largest IT companies have to retrain these fresh engineers for anywhere between a quarter, 2 quarters, sometime 4 to 5 quarters, right? So I think the problem is also at the level of where the academia really needs to adapt really fast to how the world is changing. At the same time, young people, and I think the smartest one are already doing it. So it's not like I'm saying something new, and those are the ones who are really defining the game. And I think in that sense, if I was to just say that in so many ways they're smarter than how we used to learn things and upskill. So they are really taking advantage of this entire democratization of knowledge and accessibility and so on and so forth. So every now and then you are surprised that a fresher or someone with 2 to 5 years of experience is able to really at a competency level compete with people, who are among the best talent in the world, right? But at the same time, I think a large number of these young folks who just either stick to what is being taught in a college or try to use the college days as a nice holiday kind of a thing. So they go through this challenge of having to really retrain and upskill themselves right after college, which I understand is not ideal scenario either from the talent point of view, even from the company's point of view. When they hire someone, they would ideally want that, in a couple of weeks or max couple of months, they should be able to perform the task, right? So if an Infosys has to, keep some of these freshers in their training campus for several quarters, right? I think there is other side to the story which also needs equal amount of understanding and appreciation, because at the end, like I said, India's biggest advantage at a global forefront is talent. And whether it was the IT industry, the KPO industry, and now a far more mature GCC industry where we are able to do some of the most core jobs. There are GCCs where the next 5 years strategy for some of the largest global corporations is being defined by this young Indian talent, either from rest of the engineering colleges or management colleges, right? So what we have before us in that sense, I would say, is once in a generation opportunity. The smartest one are already making the most of it, and I would invite the others that they should take a cue and really try and make themselves suitable for these world-class jobs.
Oh, excellent. So what does the next 5 years at Media GCC look like? And, what can we expect from you all moving forward? How are you kind of going to be keep your competency up in the market and sort of grow? I know these are really early days, but I'm sure that you have like plans and dreams that you want to sort of bring about.
Yeah. So I feel next 3 to 5 years are going to be, the boom period for the GCC industry in India, right? Like I said, we have a target pool of around 430 companies, right? We would want to convert at least 15 to 20% of these, to go for some sort of a GCC model. Everyone's requirement at a fundamental level, while the logic can be there, but when we understand their problems, their legacy systems, with their aspirations, right? The solutioning has to differ from one client to another. And we would want that at least 20 to 30% of their global capability works out of India center, right? And when we say that, it's a huge commitment. We are talking about at the service level really being top class, because our promise is that we will get you talent which will do the job better than your existing ones in the onshore locations. There are many of these roles where, in fact, many organizations in spaces like Europe and parts of US, they are actually struggling to find young talent who really wants to do this kind of grunt work, really go for rounds and rounds of upskilling with AI and ML and so on and so forth. So I think India really has an advantage, but if we have right now close to 22 lakh people working in these GCCs, so who are going to be the next 10 and 20 lakh picking them for the right roles at the right place at the right time is going to be a very, very defining moment. Similarly, on the tech side, these companies would want absolute surety with their data protection, IP, and so on and so forth. Because when you serve the core competence, it comes with massive responsibilities. We have our own set of learnings as a country and ecosystem with KPO and IT industry, but this is even more critical and in that sense sensitive area, and we would really want to make our name for solving it at a level. We don't have the scale and the infra at the level of, say, Big Fours and so on and so forth. But for this industry, which we understand really well, and we are getting some of the brightest leaders who work with us, and we will be obviously making these announcements in next couple of weeks and months. Our aim is that we offer the best of India's talent to the best of world's media organizations. Some of the best media products exist in this mid-market segment, because these are many of these are family-run businesses. Many of these are legacy media businesses which have been running for centuries, right? For example, if I would just ask you which are the newspapers one relates to the most, right? It's likely that the ones which are top of the league are maybe a century and older, right? But these organizations, I think, really can do a lot with our partnership. And I think it's going to be a very, very exciting and meaningful journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And you touched upon a very important part that probably will set apart Media GCC from even an in-house branded GCC in the space, is because, see, in a media organization, you and the media space, you cannot be in a bubble, right? You need to constantly be roving because it's so dynamic. If you stick in a bubble, you're just going to put yourself in that space, and you will not be able to get yourself off the track. And the other thing is about people who just get it, right? I don't think a media organization has time to sit and give you the time to learn their business, right? The concept of discovery is a common conversation and not really asking questions that you need to answer, which is what most probably services organizations do, because they want to know what your problems are, right? You're already ahead of the problem for most of these guys. But I'm looking forward to seeing great things through the Media GCC, and good luck to you and your team, Vinay. And thank you for joining us on the Voiro Podcast today.
Thank you, Kavita, for having me here, and
of course,
good luck with your future podcasts.
Of course, thank you. And thank you to Santosh, Leena, and Gautam for producing this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to your team also.